In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a flight plan from scratch. So as you can see, I'm just at the main menu of Flight Simulator. I've got a cockpit map open. If you don't have cockpit map, go to Simflightplan.com and you can download it. Also, if you're just looking for somewhere to fly, you can go to the download section and there's dozens and dozens and dozens of flight plans that you can download and fly. You don't have to use Simflightplan for any of these. These can all be downloaded and flown in Microsoft Flight Simulator. If I want to grab this flight plan, I can just download it, unzip it, and then just double click it and it'll open up the flight plan for me. Then I can just go to World Map and load that same flight plan. And you can see we've got the same route, and I guess it was an NX Cub. Yep, it's the NX Cub that's used on this flight. I can open up my cockpit map, load the flight simulation, and I'm ready to fly. But let's create one from scratch. I was watching a TV show about the Yukon Gold Rush, and they mentioned Skagway, which sounded familiar to me. There's probably a flight on Simflightplan.com already in or out of Skagway for some reason. Well, let's set this to spring because the days are awfully short, or middle of summer. Can't get any longer than the equinox. And no, I don't want live weather, I want clear skies. (9 a.m. June 21st, clear skies. I guess somebody can explain to me why the flight conditions don't seem to work right, but I'll show you how we can fix that in Flight Plan. And then the whole show was about how they had to get to the Yukon Delta, and I guess Whitehorse was where they had to get to. They ended up building a railroad to Whitehorse, which happens to be right here, and has an airfield, and has a point of interest. So we'll set that as our arrival. Oh, that's real reasonable. So that's an hour and 13-minute flight as the crow flies, but we're going to go ahead and set a flight path through all this backcountry, try and follow the railroad. You can almost see it here in World Map. It looks like that's probably the railroad tracks, judging by how straight they are. But we have a legit flight plan now. As I've showed in other videos, you can go in and change your aircraft. You can load it and save your aircraft settings, but I don't actually care about any of that right now. I'm going to go ahead and just save what I've got. Skagway. So now we just want to open that flight plan in Flight Plan, and let's add something else to see onto it, and I'll make this quick. We don't need, obviously, climb, cruise, descent, and approach. I didn't mention it, but you could create IFR flight plans too if that's really what you're interested in, but this is more of a sightseeing flight plan kind of thing. We're going to go to Bernard Lake for whatever reason. The Garmin cockpit renames the waypoint, so I'm just going to use USR, although it's going to renumber them anyway probably, so they probably won't end up matching. The cockpit sort of scrambles any of the flight plans that have like POI for point of interest and so on. But anyway, we're going to set a waypoint at Bernard Lake. Oh, there we go. White Pass and Yukon Railroad Tunnel. So let's see if we can find the tunnel. Oh, there's actually still a train ride currently. But we'll find the tunnel. We'll need to back up to the airport so that it'll set the pushpin where I want it right after Skagway. We'll see if we can see the tunnel. And I can just set an altitude. I don't have to, but if I was going to do that, I really should probably check the elevations. That way I'll be above any obstacles. It didn't give us the airport names, so let's go ahead and rename that. So this is Skagway, and this one's Whitehorse. And we left off at Bernard Lake after the Yukon Tunnel, although I assume that's the way our railroad goes. We can look on the satellite, see if we can find it. Yeah, here it is. I lost it though. You can see here it goes through the snow. Does this come back to our tunnel? Oh, I guess we're already past the tunnel. I assume this is our railroad tracks, because here's the highway over here. I guess we'll see what this is. The Log Cabin Chilkoot Trail. The whole reason they built the railroad was so you wouldn't have to take the Chilkoot Trail by foot. You'll notice that as I go forward, it'll hold my altitude for subsequent waypoints. Oh, suspension bridge. Check that out. Looks like the highway goes this way. One would assume it follows the same path as the tracks, but maybe not. Sled dog tours. I don't know if that's going to help us in an aircraft. Welcome to Yukon. See if we can find the silver mine. Probably a good sign that we're on the correct path for the railroad, because you'd think the mine would be as close to the railroad as possible. Okay, and I could follow it all the way, but that's close enough here. We'll put one more up here, gets around. Well, actually, no, that gives us a straight shot to Whitehorse, so we'll call that good. One thing I'm going to do, because a lot of times Flight Simulator leaves your fuel tanks empty, which it did, so I'm going to go ahead and just manually set my fuel tanks to full. In this case, I know I'm in the X-Cub, so it's only going to have left and right. If you're not sure, you can fill them all. It won't hurt anything. And then the other thing I want to do is set my pre-flight hold short, which will leave me off the runway. I just want to be on the runway ready to go. And then I want to set myself, let's see where Skagway is. Let me look at the runway. I want my bearing at 20 degrees. There we go, heading at 20 degrees. I don't care about the altitude, it'll just set me on the ground. It looks like it picked up the altitude of the airport anyway, and then these are the latitude and longitude of the airport. Oh, you know what we could also do is we'll double check weather set to clear sky, so we could actually use the weather file, but it should come up clear sky. And then summer, day 172, it's got the middle of the year, and then we'll set it at 9 in the morning. If I was doing a commercial flight, I could mess with my gates if I wanted to and set my runways if it was an IFR flight plan. Save Skagway, jump back into Flight Simulator, and now I need to reload because this is still the flight plan I started with, where I just picked the airports and the aircraft, and I tried to pick the flight conditions, but it didn't seem to want to cooperate. So now I need to reload the flight plan that I just edited, and you notice now, even though it doesn't show the waypoints, you can see from the jogs and the flight path that it's got my waypoints, and it picked up my flight conditions. So I forgot to set myself at the end of the runway, so I'm at the center. What we'll do, I guess, while we're here is I can zoom in until I can see the runway, and then let's just drag our pin to the proper spot so that next time, actually no, let's put it right on the numbers. I'm just going to move our marker right on top of the number here. Yes, I do. It's an airport. It's going to give you an extra warning, and then it's going to ask me if I want my aircraft placed at that position or if it wanted me to leave the aircraft where it is right now in case I was like in a parking spot or something. In this case, I do want it moved. So at least next time we load the flight plan, we'll have the correct location, and then you would actually have to come back and reset your heading. Looks like about 15 degrees. For our purposes, I'll go ahead and take off from here. I just want to show, in this case, it's a Garmin cockpit, so it's going to scramble our waypoints. I guess I should have started with user 00 and it would have kept them in order. But you'll see it's picking up Skagway as our takeoff because PHEY is the correct ICAO code, but from there on out, mine are all scrambled because I created them in the wrong order as well. I could go back and rename them, but it's giving me the right mileage to my railroad tunnel. I'll show you what happens once we hit the tunnel. Because it's a Garmin cockpit, it has renamed our waypoint to user 00. Flight plan's not going to be able to find the correct waypoint. It's going to find the wrong waypoint because they're out of order. So I'll show you how to work around that. Other aircraft, you won't have that problem if you're not using a Garmin cockpit, or if you keep them sequentially 0001, you know, if you're careful about it. So let me fly over to that waypoint and then I'll show you what happens. Okay, so it looks like I need to go back and correct the altitude because it really needs to be at least about 2,500 to get up this valley. You can see the railroad track cuts right across the satellite imagery, right across the nose of the aircraft, and we're coming up on our tunnel, and you can see that Simflightplan is showing Skagway was our last at 44 feet, and then we're 2 miles away from the Yukon Railroad Tunnel at 1,500, which looks like I want to be at about even 3,000 to get up this valley. And there's our tunnel on the map at 0.9 miles away, so it's right along this ridge here somewhere. I'm going to fly into a mountain here momentarily. Well, there's where it just ends. It doesn't actually show the tunnel itself. Yeah, I'm in real trouble. Luckily, it's the NX Cub. I can still get over. Oh, and there's actually another White Pass Railroad scenic spot over here, which we can check and see if there's a photo. Oh, there sure is. Oh, it's someone on a train ride. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that. Because I flew right next to the waypoint, Flightplan picked it up, but it's actually looking for user 1 is the waypoint the glass cockpit is looking for, but actually user 02, if you remember, I crisscrossed my waypoints. Flightplan is picking it up based on the distance. If you fly close enough to the waypoint and it can't figure out what the Garmin is sending out, it'll just use the closest waypoint if you fly right over it. If you don't fly right over it, you can manually select it, and then your current flag will be green here, and then it'll just hold whatever waypoint you tell it to hold. Like I can even pull one farther down, and now it's showing me how far I am from Chilkoot Log Cabin instead of my Bernard Lake. And then you can just click it if you want to go back to what's coming from the Garmin. That's how to create a flight plan. If you want to take a screenshot, you can go ahead and share it on simflightplan.com. That's where all those downloads came from. So I'll go ahead and take a screenshot and upload this one, but it'll end up right here. And if you don't take a screenshot, this is the image that you'll end up with. But you can see there's a whole bunch of user created ones. There's a bunch that were created by me or us. There's also series. So if you go into the series, you'll see there's Mysteries of the Abandoned. If you like that as a show on Discovery, if you just wanted to see those, you can just type in Mysteries or some portion of it. And here's all the Mysteries of the Abandoned flights that you can download and fly. And again, you can upload your own to share. I can put a description of what the flight was, and then I can also include an image. Any bitmap, I think it's up to 2 meg. It'll tell you if you exceeded it. And then if you just share it, it'll end up in the downloads. I'm not going to share this one yet. I will go ahead and fix those couple of things because the altitude was too low and there was something else that was wrong with it I need to fix. But I'll go ahead and fix it, take an image, and I'll upload it. So you'll actually find this flight plan if you want to download it and fly it yourself. And remember, all these flight plans are available at simflightplan.com/downloads. None of these flight plans require Simflightplan to load them in Flight Simulator. Anyone can download any of these flight plans and load them up in Microsoft Flight Simulator and fly. If you have the aircraft, obviously. If you load one with a Mustang and you don't have that Mustang, it's not going to load that aircraft. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this. If you got something out of it, please like and subscribe.